What's up, YouTubes? Thanks for tuning in to another Swamp and Stomp video. This is part 2 of a 3-part series of how to use HuntStand. So if you haven't watched part 1, please make sure you go right over here and click on this video. Mark covered how we approach new areas that we're scouting and how we use HuntStand in that.
Dude, that is a big deer.
And he didn't even go 30 yards.
Oh my God. That was the first buck I've ever shot.
Woo! What a rush.
Money. That deer is dead. Tagged out, baby.
You shot one?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
I saw him go down.
Now, in this video, I will be covering how we use HuntStand in season. Like whenever we're actually in the stand and or planning on moving spots that we've already scouted or that we haven't scouted, how do we approach those areas using a lot of the HuntStand features. So if you're new to this channel, please make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. And make sure you hit that bell notification because we're in the middle of the season here and we have a lot of content coming out. Also, if you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead and check out our giveaway. We're giving away a pair of waders to one lucky winner and some decoys and what such. You can check out the giveaway video right over here as well. If you've been following us on our Instagram or Facebook, you know that we do an annual out-of-state hunt. This year we went to Wisconsin and we had a blast. We didn't harvest any deer ourselves. My dad was actually able to take 2 does, but Mark or I weren't able to close the deal on the bucks that we were after. But we learned a lot from that trip. As you know, every place that we go to, we hunt archery, and we're actually doing public land hunts, so there's a lot of challenges. We were lucky enough to go up there early September and scout a little bit, and we put out some cameras and we found some really cool areas with a lot of buck activities, but it seemed like a lot of it was nocturnal. Now, during that hunt, I was able to use my HuntStand app quite a bit. The first thing I want to talk about is if you're going to a new area and there's a pretty good chance that there's no reception, you can actually download the area on HuntStand prior to going out there. And it gives you access to the maps while you're actually hunting that area. Now, there are some features that are not going to work. Like for example, the wind feature may not be accurate. The weather, if it's not loaded up, it won't be accurate either because it's going to have the stuff that you loaded up previously. Now the map will be accurate and all of your GPS functions still work. So let's go through that real quick. All right, in order to download an offline map, you're going to want to go to the area that you're going to be hunting and then go ahead and click on offline maps, click on download, and then you don't want to have this huge map that's going to take up a lot of space on your device. So you can zoom in to just the area that you're going to be hunting. So go ahead and zoom in on that and then hit download. Give it a name. I'm going to call it WI. Download that. And hit OK. Now your map is going to take a few minutes to download. Once you have it downloaded, you're pretty much ready to go. All right, so now that we have our maps downloaded, I'll show you what it looks like whenever you do not have service. It actually works out rather well. It's not as detailed as a map, but it still does pretty good. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to turn off my Wi-Fi and any other of my services. Okay. And then I'm going to zoom in. And being that I have this map downloaded, I still have a way of getting around. You know, I can still see the map relatively clear and I can still navigate. Other features that still work while you have no reception are your GPS. So here's an example that I'm actually in this particular spot, and I want to make sure that I'm able to get back to and from where I'm at in the dark. So I go ahead and I create a trace. At that point, as you see here, it's not showing the line as I'm walking, but whenever I stop walking, unfortunately, it's my screen time stopped recording, but it created this line right here. So even though I didn't have reception, it was still showing what I was doing. I could still see myself on the map. If I had gotten turned around or whatever the case is, I can still have an idea where I am in position to other areas. So not only for finding your way back in there, but if you saw a deer and you wanted to make your way around to him or make an approach, you can have an idea of where you saw that deer and use the map to your advantage, because you can make your way around to a peninsula or an area that has higher trees or more brush or whatever the case may be to cover yourself from that deer. Another way that I like to use the trace function is, like, if I go hiking in, I'm scouting and I'm looking for sign and such, and I find an area that I have a really good tree and a pinch point that I want to hunt, then I'll go ahead and turn on that trace feature on my way out, so that I'll find the quietest and the most direct way out of that area, so that in the morning, if I'm coming in the dark and it's a new spot, I'm not like just fumbling around in there and getting off track, and you end up, you know, bumping in through a bed, or you end up walking through the spot that the deer are going to come from. So it's really helpful in that way, and mostly we use it a lot when we're hunting in new areas that we haven't been in through during the dark. So the next feature that we're going to be covering here is the measurement feature. So this feature is very handy if you're trying to figure out, okay, if you're in like an oak hammock or you're in a head of trees and you want to see potential shooting opportunities. So if I'm in this particular stand right here, then if I want to have an idea the day before what are my potential shooting opportunities, I can go ahead and drop a little point right there, and I can measure out the area to these tree lines. And that's going to give me a rough idea for when the sun's coming up, what I'm dealing with here. What's my visibility? You know, in this particular case, I can see all the way over here to these soybeans, and that's about 700 yards away, but I can see all of that. If I was in this stand when I did hunt, actually I had a stand right here. I say stand, but I was actually in my saddle. I was hunting right there. Here I didn't have much visibility, but I was still able to see these edges, which were right around 120 some odd yards away. So definitely not getting a shot over there. As you can see, there is a bunch of trails that cut through here, but these trails were about 50 yards away. And then there was trails cutting through the tree line. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use this measuring feature. I've also used it when I was standing here on this corner to figure out how long of a walk it was going to be to get to this tree line back here. And it was roughly about 300 to 400 and some odd yards. So it gives you an idea of what you're going to, the distances for certain areas here. And as you can see here, you can, as you're using it, you can actually change between yards, feet, and miles. So that gives you a nice idea of what you're getting yourself into before you do. Some of this stuff on the map, it could look a little closer than you may have thought. And if you're going to go for a pretty long trek, you want to make sure that you are prepared for that trek. You want to bring water, and any other resources that you're going to need along the way. So you know, with this, at least you're not caught off guard of the distance that you're planning on going. Also, if you are hunting new areas with buddies and such, you want to give them an idea of where you're going to be going and what time you're going to be coming out. So with this, you can kind of give them a rough idea. Hey, you know, I'm planning on going 600 yards back to this head, and then I'm work my way back, and I'm looking at just about a mile or two of hiking. So if something does go wrong or whatever the case is, they have an idea where they can find you, or, you know, kind of go give you help if you need it. All right, so that's that. Another huge feature that we really like about HuntStand is the windrows. If I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna approach this area. So the parking area in this particular hunting spot is right here. So if I'm gonna approach these spots, so I got this spot up here to the north with these rubs around it, and then I have this other spot down here with the scrapes and such to the southwest. If I hit the rows, it takes me out, and then all I got to do is click on the area that I'm planning on approaching, and it gives you a little bit of distance. So you have 100 yards, 75, 50, and 25, and it tells you the wind direction. And if you want to kind of figure out, well, that spot right there, I can approach it with a crosswind, and if I'm going to click now, I can actually slide the bar here, and it'll tell me what the wind is going to be doing throughout the day. So that particular spot might not be so great later on in the day, but this one down here, let's say it's now, I can slide that over. This might be a little bit better of a spot to approach from this field here. So the windrows kind of gives you a rough idea of what exactly the wind's going to be doing, but you got to take into consideration that if you have a head of trees around you, or if you have a hill or a ridge, you know, those things will impact what the wind does. So I have found myself in situations where the wind is supposed to be going in one direction, but for whatever reason in that particular spot, the wind is going completely opposite or slightly off. So that can create a challenge. So always take those kind of things into consideration. And so, all right, so we're gonna back out and we're gonna go into other items in the app. As a matter of fact, if you are gonna drop a pin, for example, you can mark my location and it'll go ahead and drop a pin exactly where you're at. So that's really useful if you just now put up your stand or set up a preset or whatever it is that you're hunting out of. You can hit that and then mark your spot so that you can get back there. If you don't feel like using the trace function, your battery's low, whatever the case may be, that is another way to mark your particular spot. If you're walking along in the woods and you find a rub or a scrape and you really want to come back and potentially put a camera there, you can use that. Another really nice feature that you have here is the different layers of maps. Now, you're going to have different packages depending on if you have the Pro version or if you have the standard version. Now, if you do want to get the Pro version, we do have a discount code. Make sure you go check that out down in the description. I'll put it up here as well. So another really big feature that we like to use is the solar and lunar time. So if you go on to the area that you want to hunt, you go ahead and click on the solar, and then it's going to tell you a couple different things here. You're going to have the day of the week right at the top, and then it's going to give you the moon phase, sunrise, sunset, and then you have moonrise, moonset, overhead, and underfoot. So your AM minor, AM major, PM minor, and PM major are basically the best times that animals are going to be moving, not deer in particular, but it's all animals. So in this particular one, it says that AM minor is at 2:16 to 4:26 AM, and then the AM major is 8:21 to 11:23. that right there would get us pretty hype, and we're going to be pretty excited to be in the woods. We never really let this discourage us, but it's something that we use to kind of have an idea of what is game time in this particular spot. What's really nice about it as well is if you're planning around this, you can go ahead and move forward throughout the days and see how it changes throughout the days. We have found that these times are usually pretty close to when we see deer activity, and it can be 30 minutes to an hour before or 30 minutes to an hour after. So like I said, we don't really like to let it discourage us. Like, we're not going to go and not sit in the morning because the time doesn't match when we want to be in the stand. But there are plenty of people that do, and they do very well. So this is a huge feature that we like to use. So the last feature that I'm going to be covering in this video is going to be the sighting feature. We use this from time to time if we're walking around in the woods, or if we're actually hunting a particular spot and we see some game. You can go in here and actually hit this little binocular and go ahead and drop a pin on where you saw the animal, save it, and you can go ahead and select the icon for the type of animal and give it a little bit of a note. I'm going to say I saw a 12-point stud right over here. Save that, and then you can actually, it tells you all of the, you got your temperature, it says mostly cloudy, visibility, it gives you all of the stuff that was going on during that time. Saw buck running edge of soy field. You can even add a little story if you want to of the sighting, in the event that if you ever want to go back and look at it, it can jog your memory. This leads me to talk a little bit about the heat map. HuntStand has a really cool feature for if you run trail cameras and you want to use that data to the best you can. They have an option in here where you can drop all of your pictures into HuntStand, and it creates a really cool heat map for you. It tells you the date, obviously the date that it happened, the temperature, the wind direction of that area, the pressure for the area. So whenever those conditions are favorable for that deer to be there, it'll create like a red glow. I'm not going to go into it too much because that's going to be number 3 of this series. And this concludes this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little something and you're able to take away from it. This is pretty much how we use HuntStand from the stand, and pretty much on a daily basis whenever I'm out in the woods. I think I covered most of the features that I use. There may be some stuff that I didn't, but if you guys follow us along, you'll see us using HuntStand quite a bit. And if I remember anything that I missed, I'll make sure I mention it in some other videos. Thanks for checking us out. Please be safe out in the woods, and don't forget to hit that like button if you like this video. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Also, if you haven't gone to check out our merch store, please make sure you go check that out. You can go to www.swampandstompllc.com, and we have all kinds of really cool merch in there. It's just another way to support us here at Swamp and Stomp. And if you haven't checked out our Patreon page, go ahead and check that out too. All right, guys, thanks for checking us out, and see you in the next one.